Hello everyone, this lesson is on AC method for factoring trinomials. AC method is used when the leading coefficient A is not equal to 1. Otherwise, if it was equal to 1, then you would just factor it with two binomial factors, putting x in the first position. But for example, if you have 6x squared at the beginning for your factors, would you put 6x and x? Or would you put 2x and 3x? Or would you need to switch these two around and put 3x first and 2x second? So instead of guessing and checking, AC method gives us a formal method for factoring these harder types of trinomials. So here the leading coefficient is a, and where a is not equal to 1. So the first step of using AC method is to decide the signs for your parentheses, of course, plus or minus, both positive, both negative. And step 2 is to multiply A and C together, hence why it's called the AC method. And then for step 3, you're going to find the two numbers that would be factors of that product that you found and add to the linear term. So instead of finding just factors of C that add to B, you're finding factors of this number that add to B. And then you're going to use those two numbers to rewrite your middle term as a sum of those two factors. Then there will be 4 terms. Since there are 4 terms, we're going to factor it by grouping. Factor by grouping is when you group the first 2 terms and the last 2 terms. You factor out the GCF out of each group. And remember that when you do that, the parentheses should match up. And then you'll use the distributive property to write as 2 binomials. So here's our first example. So for our signs, we're going to have both positive because there are no negatives in this problem. So then we're going to find A times C, which is 2 times 6, which is 12. Then we'll find factors of 12 that add to 7, which would be 3 and 4. Next, we use those two factors to rewrite 7x. So you would write 2x squared plus 3x plus 4x plus 6. By the way, I did try recording this video yesterday and the sound did not come up, so I'm doing this again at home. So you might hear children in the background. Okay, so now we've split up the middle term using those two factors that we needed. And next we're going to factor by grouping. So you're going to group the first 2 terms and the last 2 terms. So the GCF from the first 2 terms would be x, and then you're left with 2x plus 3. And the GCF of the second 2 terms would be 2, and you're left with 2x plus 3. Since the parentheses match up, which they're supposed to, you're going to factor that out, and then you're left with x plus 2. And that's the answer. So instead of guessing and checking, we were able to use AC method to factor that trinomial. Let's do some more examples. So for number 1, AC is our first step. Well, besides finding the signs, but you can always determine that at any point. So 3 times 5 would be 15. Next, we'll find factors of 15 that add to 16, which would be 15 and 1. So we split up the middle term as 15t plus 1t plus 5. By the way, it does not matter the order that you put these two in. You could have put 1t and then 15t first. So from our first group, we will factor out 3t, and we're left with t plus 5. In the second group, if there's nothing to factor out, then you would factor out a 1 and get t plus 5. Next, you'll have t plus 5 times 3t plus 1, and that's your answer. It also doesn't matter if you flip the order of these two factors around. Okay, for this question, we'll do 3 times 44, which would be 120 plus 12, which is 132. So then you find factors of 132 that would add to negative 37. Since your last term is positive but your middle term is negative, both of the factors will be negative. And the answer to that is 4 and 33, so both negative. Then we rewrite the equation as 3c squared minus 4c minus 33c plus 44. Here we can factor out a c, and then we get 3c minus 4. Here we'll factor out 11, but also a negative 11 since there's a negative in front, which makes the sign in the middle change to minus. And that allows the parentheses to match up. So we'll have 3c minus 4 times c minus 11. For number 3, we'll do AC. That gives us negative 18. And negative 18 plus 1 are factors of negative 18. That also adds to negative 17x. So we'll use those two factors to break up the middle term. 3x squared minus 18x plus 1x minus 6. Here we can factor out 3x and get x minus 6. Here we'll factor out 1 and get x minus 6. Then you'll have x minus 6 times 3x plus 1. And that will be your answer. So 4 and 5 are very similar to 3. We're going to jump down to number 6. So we'll have 6 times negative 10, which is negative 60. And then factors of negative 60 that add to negative 11. Let's see, we would have 1 and 60. That obviously won't work. 2 and 30. That won't work. 3 and 20. Nope. 4 and 15. So I think 4 and 15 is going to work because we'll need our signs to be opposite since this is negative. So the 4 will be positive and the 15 will be negative because of the negative 11 in the middle. We want our bigger factor to be negative. So when I split the middle term up, sometimes it's helpful if you have one positive and one negative to put the negative first so that you don't have to deal with factoring out a negative in the second set. So minus 15y plus 4y minus 10. So here we'll factor out 3y and get 2y minus 5. And then the second set, we'll factor out a 2 and get 2y minus 5. And then finally, 2y minus 5 times 3y plus 2. Okay, so the rest of it will, I don't have the worksheet with me, but we will work on doing the rest of it tomorrow in class. And then I believe it's the last page. It's marked like homework odds or something. So that'll be Friday's homework due Monday for those of you who are watching this in class. Okay, so that's the end of this lesson, and we will review more tomorrow. I hope you have a great day.